Senator Carter.
Senator Milkovich, I've got two quick questions. I think one of them may be addressed by an amendment. I notice in your bill you don't speak to rape or incest.
Our position of this bill and the position of the author, I understand I don't have the privilege of voting on the bill at this point, is to protect the children that are produced as a result of rape and incest.
So have you given consideration to the protection of a female who may have been violently raped and abused by a perpetrator who in that process became pregnant, and the horrific stress and emotional strain and difficulty that person has to endure for 9 months carrying a baby that is the product of a violent, horrible experience such as rape.
Abuse.
Have you given consideration to the emotional and physical aspects of that? Now that's just during the 9 months. I mean, then we'll talk about what happens after the birth. But during that period, the immediate aftermath of what a person suffers, share with me your thoughts there.
I think there's no justifying or mitigating or minimizing the trauma that's inflicted upon a woman that is raped, whether she conceives or does not conceive. There's no minimizing that. Those are lifetime scars and traumas. And I think the question, Senator Carter, with respect, for me, is what is the appropriate remedy for that? Is it prayer and sustenance in the community, and of course holding the wrongdoer culpable and accountable and punishing them, which I think is the indicated social, moral, and theological response, versus killing the baby that is the child who has resulted from the sexual assault. So I would say that killing the baby who did nothing wrong is not the right response. To me, the right response is community support, prayer of church, family, community, holding the wrongdoer accountable.
Example, but let's say a very dear friend of yours and his wife was brutally raped and became pregnant as a part of that. And this is a very, very dear friend of yours, or a relative, or maybe a relative who had to experience that. Oftentimes when we just think in theory, we can make and talk about these things, but when we are faced with our own convictions of if it happened to you or your wife or your daughter, then maybe the empathy becomes a little more real, because now it's not just a theory, but it's touching.
It's not abstract.
It's tactical at that point.
It's not abstract. It's real. That suffering has to be very real. And to me, the question is, what is the moral response? I would say to you that an assault or misuse or mistreatment of a woman is wrong, and I don't believe that it's rectified by killing the baby.
But isn't it
and
also
I believe that if I can finish, I think the appropriate moral and social response of the community and the family and the church is to come around the victim and support them and protect them. So, if you're asking me, is that a horrible situation when the mother is sexually assaulted? Absolutely. Is it the ultimate moral response for us to still stand with the mother and protect the possibility of life for the unborn child who's done nothing wrong to deserve death?
No, what I'm suggesting is that in a case of rape and incest, let's throw that into the mix as well, that in a case of such a horrific experience, that the victim should have the right to choose. And the idea of being pro-life or pro-choice is somewhat misleading, because it implies a person that's pro-choice is anti-life, and that's not a true statement. I think we're all pro-life, but pro-choice just simply means that a woman should have that opportunity to make a decision based on circumstances that impact them, particularly in the case of rape and incest.